Alright battlers, welcome back to a brand new Fusion Cup video. This is SpeediestChief2 bringing you my Orlando Mega Cup recap. Trainers, before we get into the tournament footage, I just want to make a huge shout out to Victory Road PvP, Ghost Stadium, JFarmakis, and Kieng IV. This whole tournament would not have been possible without the hard work and dedication of all parties involved. Ghost Stadium did an incredible job hosting the stream. If you have not watched the replay, I will leave the link down in the description below so you can check that out. Kieng IV for spawning this idea, for leading the way on the Mega Cup charge. I think this is the biggest step we can take towards making Pokemon Go PvP an esport. Hosting these enormous Mega Cups really show us what's possible, and we have Kieng IV to thank for the vision and for pushing that and helping us all to realize that this could be something much bigger. Huge shout out to Victory Road PvP, the organization that put this whole cup together. Lyndon Ryu is our lead organizer. He took the brunt of the load, even electing not to play the day of the cup so that he could run the event and make sure that everything went perfectly. He did an incredible job, guys. I got tons of positive feedback. If you were at the Orlando Mega Cup and you enjoyed it, please let me know in the comments down below what you thought, and if you think we could do something better next time, let us know as well. We definitely want to hear your feedback, and we definitely don't know what the future holds for Victory Road PvP, but it could be very exciting because we think we have a very special formula. Based on what we've heard, everything seemed really positive. So again, trainers, let me know down in the comments below if you enjoyed the live stream, if you enjoyed the Mega Cup, and of course, thank you JFarmakis for coming down to Shoutcast, AJ as well. Those two guys did an incredible job on the live Shoutcast, again, hosted by Ghost Stadium and run by Scotty, aka Chris, aka Spyro, the founder of Ghost Stadium. Such an all-star team, and it was an all-star event. There's so many people that I would like to thank. The list is so long. Thank you so much to the volunteers, to everyone who came out and competed, who traveled from miles and miles away, a world away sometimes in some cases. You guys are the real MVPs, and I really appreciate it. Guys, let's get right into this footage. As you see here, my team is Shiftry, Bronzong, Poliwrath, Noctowl, Alolan Sandslash, and Swampert. I ended up going 5-3, but it was a ton of fun. Let's get into it. Congratulations to Valor Ash for sweeping the tournament 8-0, a wonderful competitor and an awesome person. So happy to have hosted you, and congratulations again, man. My round one opponent is Radiant G. Radiant G is actually from the Tampa area. I think we have played in the past. He's bringing Noctowl, Alolan Marowak, Probopass, Whiscash, Alolan Ninetales, and Shiftry. So I'm feeling pretty confident about this matchup. These are really close matches, trainers. We actually played this first match inside of the building and then the next two outside. For round one, I'm going with Noctowl, Poliwrath, and Bronzong. So we're going to lock in here. The Noctowl lead is going to encounter Shiftry, so immediately we win that lead. I like to play this matchup a little bit differently than my opponent did there. He did get some energy together and then bail. I go right into my Poliwrath here, and we know that one Dynamic Punch is going to finish off this Probopass. As you can see, there's Spinning Wheel of Death. I've got two wheels and a weak connection sign, but I decided to stick it out. I go for the Great here, so I'm actually going to try to farm down the rest of this Probopass. My strategy works perfectly there. I'm able to get enough mud shots in for some attacks. In comes the Shiftry, and I'm actually going to shield this Leaf Blade. I go for one more mud shot to threaten the Dynamic Punch and then go right for Ice Punch. So he does shield that one, and then I go for a second Ice Punch here, trainers, trying to get that second shield from my opponent, and we definitely get that. So my opponent does bail out into Whiscash. Again, a favorable matchup for me, trainers, and if you're wondering how I lose this matchup, I mean, it's pretty wild. Things do not go my way, and I don't want to blame it on lag. This was a fair match, and I feel like my opponent really outplayed me, but I had a few opportunities to win here, and in hindsight is 2020, trainers. We always get frustrated when we don't win. Here we go with the Whiscash versus Noctowl matchup. I'm expecting the Blizzard here. There's no reason not to shield. I attempt to go for the farm down here, but I get a little bit nervous, and I tap the Sky Attack. As you can tell there, that's not what I wanted to do. I wanted to farm down and use the Sky Attack for the Shiftry, but out comes Shiftry with energy. He's going to hit us with Foul Play. Here I'm going to sack swap Bronzong. This is my last chance to come back from this. I actually am going to take that Leaf Blade, no problem, fire off a few Confusions, and my opponent here is actually not going to farm down. This would have been a more secure win if he would have farmed down Bronzong. In comes Noctowl, CMP tie, and he is going to win it. So my opponent Radiant G is going to take game one. We are going to jump right into game two. Jumping right into round 2, I'm going to stick with the same team, Noctowl, Poliwrath, and Bronzong. I think this is the trio to win this match for me. We are going to win the lead again, going here into the Shiftry versus Noctowl matchup. My opponent's going to do the same thing, 3 Snarls and Bail. In comes Noctowl for the mirror match. So the Noctowl mirror match was very interesting in Fusion Cup. As long as you had the energy advantage, in most cases you could win this. It is just a battle of the sky attacks. I do swap here into my Bronzong after my opponent has expended his energy. I'm expecting to catch at least 1 Nightshade, but I know Bronzong can take at least 1, so we are going to survive that. I'm going to continue to farm down the Noctowl. He is down a Pokemon but has 2 shields. I go straight for the Bulldoze here, hoping to draw a shield, but we do not. My opponent does realize that there's no reason to shield Shiftry against the Bronzong. If you remember from my Bronzong video, I get a little bonus chip damage in here with the Psyshock at the last second, which is really nice, and we do draw the shield. So he is trying to keep that Shiftry alive. I do have my Noctowl though with a Sky Attack prepared, ready to go, bringing down the Shiftry. In comes Probopass, and we swap right into Poliwrath with 2 shields. This match is GG's. My opponent knows it. I'm going to go for the excellent here, and we wrap up that game. Going to the round 3, I do decide to leave Bronzong with Noctowl and my Poliwrath as the closer. Again, same team, just switching the flow. We're going to counter that Shiftry lead for the 3rd time in a row. I go into Noctowl, my hard counter, in comes Probopass, and this match is going a little bit more like I'm sure my opponent wanted it to go. He is going to definitely win this matchup against Noctowl. No reason to even throw a charge move. As Hero of Ainge says, this is a delicious matchup for Probopass. You can straight farm down with Rock Throw. And that's exactly what happens there. I know he's got a boatload of energy. Trying to decide what to bring in here, I come in with Bronzong. I know the Bulldoze will put an end to this Probopass, and I can tank whatever comes my way. I was worried about bringing in Poliwrath just because I didn't want to get hit by a Thunderbolt, and because that Shiftry was still around, I know that I need shields for my Poly if I'm going to beat that Shiftry in the end. So I do go for the Psyshock shield bait here, and that was a big failure. I get a little bit antsy, and I switch into Poliwrath to catch the Rock Slide. I am going to farm down the rest of this Probo, and I do have a slight energy lead. In comes the Shiftry, and I know I can only tank 1 Leaf Blade at full health, so I definitely don't want a Leaf Blade here when I'm already weakened. I'm going to throw that Ice Punch, and it does get shielded. In comes another Leaf Blade from Shiftry, and it is a race. I need to try to get this Shiftry out of the way, and I know the switch timer is up. I don't think I have a chance here, really, but I do sack swap into Bronzong yet again. In comes Alola Marowak. I'm going to try to bring this match closer than it looks. We do land that Bulldoze. Alola Marowak is going to farm down Bronzong. In comes Poly, and here I go for the Ice Punch, possibly an opportunity for a Dynamic Punch there. Ice Punch is not enough to do it. One more Fire Spin, and then you know what's coming. It's a Shadow Ball. I'm going to lose round 1. GG's to my opponent, Radiant G. My round 2 opponent is Crystal Ships from Jacksonville, Florida. Huge shout out to you guys. Thank you for sending such great trainers to come battle. Crystal Ships is bringing Whiscash, Shiftry, Altaria, Heracross, Magneton, and Alola Marowak. First time I've seen Magneton in this cup, and I assume it is double legacy. I'm going to lead with that Swampert. I do have Noctowl and my Poliwrath in the back. Swampert's going to encounter Alola Marowak, which is a great lead situation for me. We know that this Alola Marowak, even after the Hydro Cannon nerf, is going to do very well. I'm going to fire off the Sludge Wave here against the Shiftry, and then swap in with my Noctowl to hopefully absorb the Leaf Blade, and it is Leaf Blade, which is great for me. I'm going to start to farm down on this Noctowl, on this Shiftry, but is still so dangerous. Another Leaf Blade comes our way. I'm not going to give my opponent my shield. I'm going to go here for the Sky Attack against the Shiftry, and it will bring it down. My opponent is going to bring in Altaria, which is definitely not something that I wanted to see, but I think I have the good enough counter for it. I'm going to farm up a few more wing attacks here, and my opponent actually gets to a Sky Attack. Noctowl is so thick, it is hard to bring down with those Dragon Breaths, so you need to be careful. I do bring in my Poliwrath here, and based on our knowledge of the matchups, we know we can win this because the Ice Punch is just faster. He is going to make a beautiful swap here into Alola Marowak to absorb my attack, but he does burn a shield, which I don't think was completely necessary. I do decide to go in here with my Swampert, and he's going to go for the Shadow Ball, which I shield correctly. That would have been devastating if it landed. I'm going to try to farm up a little bit of this Marowak and then get at least one Hydro Cannon off on this Altaria. which we achieve, which is great for us. This isn't going to do a lot, but it's going to put this Altaria within range of one Ice Punch. Swampert has done a wonderful job for me, so I'm going to let it take that Sky Attack. That Sky Attack was undercharged. Not sure if that was on purpose or if that just kind of happened that way, but either way, we take game 1. For game 2, I lead Poliwrath. I do have my Swampert and Noctowl in the back. Poliwrath is going to face off here in the lead situation against Whiscash. Again, another lead that I really like. This Dynamic Punch is going to hit so hard. My opponent does get to the Mud Bomb first, which is not a huge deal. I know Poliwrath can tank several Mud Bombs. I do go here for the Dynamic Punch. And again, it's really great because Whiscash doesn't have any moves that can really surprise you. Even Blizzard is going to do just marginally more damage than Mud Bomb, and it costs way more energy. So definitely, trainers, if you're in this situation, Mud Bomb is the right way to go with the Whiscash. I'm going to force my opponent to burn a shield there, but I do not want to give up switch advantage. I think I can get to one more Dynamic Punch, and we do. I think this Whiscash might have been within Ice Punch range, but I just wanted to be sure. So we do burn our shield, but we are in a good position because we did not give up switch advantage. I'm actually able to go here for the Ice Punch against the Shiftry, which is just icing on the cake. This is great. I get to burn one more shield, and we actually could have gone up for a Dynamic Punch based on the amount of snarls it took to bring us down, but that's okay. Here comes an attack from Shiftry, which is foul play. All I need is one Sky Attack to bring down Shiftry. I just need to be certain that it does not switch out, and we're able to lock in that Shiftry, take the Sky Attack, in comes Altaria, and this matchup is going pretty well for us. I know I can get some chip damage here on Altaria with the Sky Attack, and I contemplate a quick switch there, but decide to stay in with Noctowl. I'm going to learn from our previous match and realize that I can stay in here long enough against those Dragon Breaths to get to another Sky Attack, which is great for me. I do decide to bring in my Swampert here, which I know can tank at least one Sky Attack from Altaria, and as long as we get to a Hydro Cannon, trainers, we have it, and we get there. Going into game 3 against Crystal Ships, I lead Swampert with my Poliwrath and Noctowl in the back. So same line that we saw before. We're going to run into that Magneton though. So Magneton, I'm really concerned about a Zap Cannon here. He does swap out into Altaria, and I go here into Poliwrath. So this Altaria was able to get some energy together and is actually going to get to the Sky Attack pretty quickly. This is not great for me. I'm going to overfarm here, and my plan is to just try and do double Ice Punches. A little user error there. I do exit out of the app briefly. Still getting used to the new iPhone 11, but I do love it. I got it, I think, 2 days before the cup because my other phone, the screen was cracked, and I just wanted to make sure I was going to do my best at this cup. So the iPhone 11 is coming through for me here. I do fire off an Ice Punch here against the Altaria, and we get to another one, which is just so good for us. Poliwrath can win that matchup, trainers, against a Flyer, and that's one of the biggest reasons I loved running this Pokemon. In comes the Whiscash, and we are almost able to get to a Dynamic Punch. I could have gone for Ice Punch there if I was a little bit better at counting. I could have kept track of those Mud Shots and known that the Mud Bomb was coming. I do decide to bring in my Noctowl here, and I make the fast swap into Magneton. I did not want Magneton to line up with Noctowl, trainers, so I had to lure it out, and that's exactly what that swap did for me. In comes the Whiscash, and this is the main reason I brought in Swampert. Well, there are actually two reasons, but beating Whiscash was probably the biggest one. I used to have Whiscash on my team, but I really needed it to do this work here with the Hydro Cannons against the Whiscash. So we win that game. Very GG's to Crystal Ships. My opponent is Bike Frog with Venusaur, Alola Marowak, Whiscash, Bronzong, Frostlass, and Noctowl. So definitely a very, very solid team. Fire Spinner and Marowak. Venusaur as the only grass type is an interesting choice to me. I think bringing an ice type is actually safe in this matchup, so I lead with Alolan Sandslash. I have Shiftry and Swampert in the back. Here we go, Alolan Sandslash catching Venusaur in the lead. Excellent situation for me. I know it's going to take at least 2 Frenzy Plants, so I overfarm a little bit, expecting the swap, but it does not come. My opponent is going to burn a shield on Venusaur. In comes Frostlass, and check this out, trainers. I love Gyro Ball, and it pays off big here, landing the Gyro Ball on the Frostlass, putting my opponent at a huge disadvantage. I'm going to shield that Avalanche, expecting the Shadow Ball, and we're able to farm down the rest of that Frostlass with 3 Powdered Snows. In comes the Venusaur, and I know I can tank at least 1 Frenzy Plant, no problem. He does go for the Sludge Bomb though, which is not effective. You definitely want to do the the Frenzy Plant in that matchup there. I am going to fire off an Ice Punch, and here we go with another Ice Punch. Alolan Sand Slash can be so spammy. We're going to get this off and bring down Venusaur. In comes Knocked Out, and I'm going to ride this Alolan Sand Slash bus all the way to the W, trainers. We're going to fire off one more Ice Punch here. I consider the swap, but decide to stay in. I'm just going to wrap this match up as quickly as I can. Going for a second Ice Punch here. We know that these wing attacks are not going to chip us down fast enough to do any kind of damage at all, and we sweep game 1 with 3 Pokemon left. For round 2, I bring Swampert in the lead with my Shiftry and Alolan Sandslash in the back. Swampert's going to encounter Frostlass, so again, not a bad matchup for us at all. Powder Snow is fast, but Mudshot is faster, trainers. We're going to fire off this Hydro Cannon here against the Frostlass. Frostlass can only tank one Hydro Cannon. One more will definitely bring it down, and based on the speed of our fast moves, we know for a fact that we can get to a second Hydro Cannon before my opponent gets to another charge move. So we did expend a shield there to keep our Swampert healthy and happy. In comes Knocked Out here, and trainers, I'm going to avoid switching out because in this situation, I don't want to switch lock myself by going into my hard counter and then risking that my opponent will bring out their hard counter in return, and then I would not be able to bring down this Knocked Out. So instead, I am going to leave Swampert in there, bring in the Alolan Sandslash, and here swap into Shiftry against Whiscash. So a lot of the time, trainers, it's a bad idea to force yourself into a situation where you are stuck. If you are able to use your Pokemon that's currently in and won the lead for you to put some pressure on your opponent, definitely do that. So when you are picking your lead Pokemon, definitely consider what else it can do. Can it hurt other Pokemon on your opponent's team? If so, maybe it is a better lead than you think. We do get hit by the Blizzard there, which is really, really unfortunate. I do come in here with Ice Punches with my Alolan Sandslash, but at this point, trainers, this match is pretty much over. I don't think I can stretch Alolan Sandslash far enough to bring down the Whiscash. Gyro Ball will do marginally more damage, but it's not that energy efficient. We actually are able to farm down the rest of the Whiscash. In comes the Knocked Out, but CMP is going to flip this match and we lose. Going to the next round, I lead Swampert. I have my Shiftry and Bronzong in the back. I definitely needed an anti-flyer, so I brought Bronzong this time instead of the Alolan Sandslash. Besides, that Gyro Ball trick is probably only good for one try. Here comes the Frostlass, and we're going to do the same thing we did in game 2. My opponent is going to shield there, so interesting strategy. Makes a beautiful swap here into Venusaur. My opponent Bike Frog is really playing it well. In comes my Bronzong though, and I'm going to attempt to farm down this Venusaur. No problem at all. A couple of Frenzy Plants are no big deal to the beatdown bell. Shout out to Jay Devon. Jay Devon was also huge in putting together the stream, trainers. I didn't mention him in the beginning intro. My bad, Jay. He was actually really, really helpful. Stayed up all night putting together clips that you saw on stream. So if you enjoyed the live stream and if you watch the replay, go and give Jay Devon a shout out. He is the freaking man. Beatdown bell and bongos for life. Here comes the Avalanche from Frostlass. We are going to shield that. In comes the Whiscash, and Shiftry is going to run wild, trainers. We're going to Leaf Blade the crap out of this Whiscash and then foul play this Frostlass. Shiftry is the ninja of the Fusion Cup, and I loved using it in the Mega. That is GG's. I face off against my dear friend Eileen, Dark Ninja Shark. She's bringing Whiscash, Heracross, Knocked Out, Probopass, Bronzong, and Shiftry. Definitely a very dangerous team, and already, trainers, I played 2 trainers from the Tampa area at the Mega Cup. The competition was so stiff. I decided to lead in with Poliwrath. I do have Knocked Out and Bronzong behind it. Poliwrath is going to encounter Whiscash. Trainers, I really loved Poliwrath in this cup. It had so many good matchups against the Mud Boys and anything that wasn't a flyer. If you can manage your shields correctly, you can bring down a Shiftry. You could bring down so many other things in this cup. And the Ice Punch does really well against Altaria as well. So this Whiscash is actually going to start to spam Mud Bombs against me, and I know I can only tank, was it 2, maybe 3? I can't tank much more than that. I do fire off the Dynamic Punch, and now it is a Mud Shot race. I am going to expend the shield here, trainers, because I definitely want to win switch advantage. We are matching in shields. I do go for the Ice Punch here because this Whiscash is within Ice Punch KO range, but Eileen does not allow me to bring it down. I do swap here into my Knockdown Noctowl, expecting here the Blizzard, and I definitely made the right call in shielding that. In comes Heracross, and I want this Heracross off the battlefield immediately. It is so dangerous with that close combat. In comes Bronzong, and Eileen told me after the match that was a panic swap. She meant to go into Bronzong, so tournament nerves affect everybody, trainers. You saw mine in game 1, and it is never really settled. Once you get into these intense situations, you never know what mistake your opponent can make, so definitely stay on top of things, and even if you think you're losing, something might happen that could help you out in the long run. I do decide to bring in Bronzong here. I know I can tank at least one Bulldoze and survive it, so I'm very comfortable in this matchup here, and I'm gaining a lot of energy. I am going to fire off my Psyshock here against this against this Whiscash to bring it down. In comes Bronzong, and Confusion KOs. Going right into game 2, I decide to lead Shiftry with Poliwrath and Bronzong in the back. I like Shiftry as a lead because it helps you to gain a lot of energy really quickly, especially if you're in a good matchup like here we see against Bronzong. I'm expecting this swap. In comes Heracross, and I swap here into my Bronzong. So Bronzong, even though it does well against Heracross, you have to watch out for the close combat. Eileen actually goes for the Mega Horn there, which is good for me, but she did force me to burn a shield all the same. Here comes a Psyshock from Bronzong, and Whiscash is going to shield that. She's trying to keep this Whiscash healthy so that it can get enough energy together for the Blizzard against the Shiftry, which makes total sense. I'm able to get one more Psyshock off though, which is really, really nice. She is holding on to that one shield, and she has one more Pokemon in the back. We are even at 2 pokes each and 1 shield. In comes Poliwrath, and I know I can farm a little bit here and tank a couple of Mud Bombs, so I'm not concerned, but this Whiscash is going to put a lot of pressure on me if it stays in. I do force her to swap back into Bronzong. Out comes the Shiftry, and we are going to go straight for the foul play. At this range of health, you definitely need to shield a Bulldoze from Bronzong. I actually farm up a little bit extra because Confusion is just so slow. In comes the foul play. Back out is going to come the Whiscash, and I'm going to try to get to a Leaf Blade here to wrap this up, and we definitely get there in time. So I think this was actually a CMP tie. She could have Blizzarded my Shiftry, and we did have a little bit of a lag issue, but we agree that with Poliwrath in the back, that was GG's. For round 3, I lead Poliwrath with Shiftry and my Bronzong behind it. I'm actually going to lose the lead here against this Noctowl. With Poliwrath's Ice Punch, it's a more favorable matchup with Altaria, but you can still do some work with Noctowl as long as you have shields. So I do bail out at the perfect moment to catch the Sky Attack with Bronzong, which is great for me. Eileen decides to stay in for a second there, get some more energy together, and then go into Whiscash. So Whiscash is going to win this matchup pretty easily, but Bronzong's Confusion is definitely underrated, trainers. You can put a ton of hurt on a Whiscash in this situation. We are not able to get to another Psyshock, but look at Whiscash barely limping along with that red health bar. We're going to farm a few mud shots here with Poliwrath, and I am going to forego the shield here, allowing Poliwrath to get pretty weak. I do have to shield this Mud Bomb because it would bring us dangerously low, and we do have to deal with that Noctowl in the back still, and the wing attacks will add up. I'm expecting a Mud Bomb here, which it is. Shiftry tanks that no problem, and we just farm down the Whiscash. So I know that Noctowl is coming out. My plan is to try to burn these shields or do some damage to it. Hopefully a double foul play is in the stars for me here. I do go for the second one, which is great. At this point, I'm hoping to get that second shield, and we do. That Noctowl is going to farm up a little bit extra, but Shiftry is so dangerous, trainers. You can't allow it to stay in too long, or it will get to another foul play. So I'm going to go for the Ice Punch here against the Noctowl, and it is enough. In comes Shiftry, and we go for a Dynamic Punch here, and we're going to wrap this up with the win. GG's, Eileen. Always a pleasure to play against you. I will see you in the next tournament. Going into the next round, trainers, you read that name correctly. I go up against the super villain Quinby. Quinby has Swampert, Shiftry, Magneton, Charizard, Frostlass, and Haunter. This team is full of glass cannons, and I'm going to forewarn you, trainers, these matches do not go well. I was not ready for a Charizard team. I do decide to lead my Noctowl with Swampert and Shiftry in the back. Noctowl is going to counter Frostlass, so immediately this is not a good lead situation for us. I do make the fast swap here into Shiftry. Out comes Charizard though, and Charizard is going to burn up this Shiftry really quickly. I do go for the Leaf Blade bait and then for the foul play, which at least I earned the shield. I mean, that was a good play, I guess. Charizard can tank one foul play, and Quimby's actually going to burn his energy here with the Dragon Claw. Just wanting to get Shiftry off the battlefield. I do think there was an opportunity there to farm. I had to bring Swampert on my team to take out the Charizard, but I decided to bring a Noctowl here, expecting a Blast Burn. I do shield, and it's just the Dragon Claw. I'm going to go for the Sky Attack here, uncertain of how much energy he had. I just wanted that Charizard off the field. Here comes Frostlass. And I'm actually not going to shield the Avalanche here. This is a very, very bad situation for me. I do decide to bring in my Swampert, and I'm going to go for the Hydro Cannon here against Frostlass. As we know, it can only tank one, and it's deep into the red, and here I have to decide if I want my Swampert healthy or if I want the shield, and I decide to keep the shield. So that Frostlass is still around, although barely. I do fire off a Hydro Cannon here, and these mud shots are adding up. I'm going to try to win this matchup here against the Swampert, but I still have to deal with that Frostlass in the back. My opponent actually gets to another charge move, so Quimby is going to bring us down with the Hydro Cannon and win game 1. For game 2, I lead Shiftry. I do have Swampert and my Noctowl in the back, and this match doesn't go much better. Shiftry is going to lead right into that Magneton. I am assuming this is a double legacy with discharge, and that charges up so freaking fast. It's actually Magnet Bomb, so that would have hurt grass type Shiftry pretty badly, but this is one matchup I did not study, trainers. I did not even consider Magneton before I encountered it in this cup. I know I can take at least one attack from it here. He does correctly fire off the discharge against the Swampert, but in comes Shiftry, and I'm going to try to get to the Sludge Wave, but we don't quite do it. I do not burn a shield on Swampert here. I would be out of shields if I did, and I am in a terrible situation. I do go here for my Noctowl, but Quimby's got 2 shields, and this is going to be a very tough matchup to come back from. I guess in a way I lost the lead twice in a row, but still I was not ready for this kind of team composition. We spoke briefly after the battles, and he did say that he went full glass cannon because he realized that the shields were getting burned so quickly in this cup that you can put a lot of pressure on your opponent if you have Pokemon that get to their charge moves very quickly, and that's exactly what he did here. He's going to unleash this Charizard on the Shiftry. The Dragon Claw brings us down. In comes the Noctowl. I go for the Sky Attack here, just trying to save my honor. He is going to shield it. And here comes another attack from Charizard to wrap this game up. Quimby and I played a game 3, which I was able to win, but that footage was lost. Maybe Quimby isn't a bad guy after all. We will see. My next opponent is Darth Kylo Ryan. Ryan is bringing his Alolan Sandslash, Swampert, Noctowl, Shiftry, Alolan Marowak, and Poliwrath. Trainers, I am really loving this team. These are great battles. Let's get into it. For game 1, I decided to lead Poliwrath. I do have my Noctowl and Shiftry in the back. I love Shiftry in the back as a closer because it has such great coverage. Here we see the Poliwrath lead going into that Alolan Sandslash. So Ryan knows that I only need to land one Dynamic Punch to bring down the Alolan Sandslash, so he is going to shield up that first one. He does have some energy built up on his Sandslash though, so I do have to keep that in mind for later. I do go here for the Ice Punch against the Noctowl to bring it down a little bit, and then I go into the Mirror Match. So because I did not have a strong Noctowl counter on my team, I had to rely on some chip damage from my Poliwrath in order to win this matchup. My best Noctowl counter was Noctowl, so I had to be very conscious of how I manage my shields and how I manage a mirror situation like this. We do shield that Sky Attack and farm down the Noctowl. I'm trying to get to this Nightshade here, but he comes in with that Alolan Sandslash, and he's going to punch my Noctowl, bringing it down. So although I did burn the shield, I am in a favorable position because I get to line up my Poliwrath with that Sandslash yet again. I'm going to fire off the Ice Punch here against the Swampert. And again, trainers, everything is going my way. I decided to bring in my Shiftry here, and we get to that Leaf Blade so fast. Shiftry is so amazing. I know I say that every time, but every time it comes on screen, I'm just totally blown away. Expecting Sludge Wave here, I do shield, and it is a Sludge Wave. I do think even if I would have not have shielded, I would have had a decent chance with Poliwrath being very healthy in the back. But either way, trainers, in comes the Alolan Sandslash. He is going to fire off an Ice Punch here against Shiftry, which will KO. In comes Poliwrath, and we are going to tie this up with a bow with our Dynamic Punch. Going into game 2 against Ryan, I decided to lead Poliwrath. I do have Knocked Out and Shiftry in the back, so same line. Let's see how it turns out for us. Poliwrath is going to encounter Knocked Out this time, so he did switch up his lead, and that is not good for us. I go into the mirror match here, not wanting to burn his shield on Poliwrath in that situation. He does have a slight energy lead though, because he got an extra wing attack. In comes Swampert to take on my Knocked Out, which is definitely a much closer matchup than you think, trainers. I know a lot of trainers swapped out of Whiscash and went into Swampert for this reason, because there were so many Knocked Out running around. I'm going to take that first Hydro Cannon, and here comes a second Hydro Cannon. So I'm actually going to not shield Knocked Out here. Almost able to survive, but the Mud Shot brings us down. In comes Shiftry, and I'm going to try to farm up a little bit of this Swampert. I really make a gutsy play there and do not shield the Hydro Cannon. That easily could have been a Sludge Wave. Expecting another Hydro Cannon, I do have to shield just because Swampert is so spammy. It can still put so much pressure on your team. In comes Knocked Out, and we do encounter a little bit of mutual lag, but we're able to rejoin the battle. Here goes a foul play from our Shiftry, and I'm trying to go to another foul play here, but I need to save my shield in case I'm going to have any chance of coming back from this. In comes Poliwrath. I know Poly can only tank one Sky Attack at near full health, so I am in dangerous territory here, trainers. He does get to another Sky Attack, and my only hope is to get to a charge move here before he can get to another Sky Attack. And then whatever is in the back, I need Poliwrath to be able to beat it. I do fire off the Dynamic Punch here, and it's not enough. One Mud Shot is not going to be enough to bring down Knocked Out. The Sky Attack will take it, and Darth Kylo wins game 2. Going to game 3, I lead my Knocked Out. I do have Bronzong and Shiftry in the back. Again, switching the flow a little bit, leaving Poliwrath at home. Let's see how it turns out. I do lead my Knocked Out into Swampert. So as we just saw in game 2, this is a matchup that Swampert can actually win. I do go for the Sky Attack here, just trying to put pressure on the Swampert. He is going to allow that through. Now Swampert is deep into the yellow. With Knocked Out, I am going to shield here, expecting the Sludge Wave, but it was not. It was just a Hydro Cannon. I do QSA my Sky Attack here, trying to lock in this Swampert so it cannot escape. I'm going to force the shield or take down the Swampert here, and we force the shield. So again, the wing attacks are not doing enough damage. I know I can tank one more Hydro Cannon, and we barely managed to hang on. Swampert is going to get farmed down, and we win the lead, which is huge for us. In comes this Knocked Out, and again, trainers, I left Poliwrath at home, and I'm not going to force myself into a bad situation by switching, so I decided to bring out Bronzong. Even though this Knocked Out is energy, I'm okay with that. I do make a late swap here into Shiftry, but I know all I need is one foul play to bring down Marowak. Expecting here a Bone Club or Shadow Ball, not a huge deal. Shiftry is barely able to hang on. So this is, again, not a super favorable situation for us because the Fire Spins actually bring us down. Bronzong is my hero, though. Here he comes, the beatdown bell with the Bulldoze. We're going to take down Alolan Marowak. I still have his shield, and all we need, trainers, is one Psyshock to bring down this Knocked Out. This is a Nightshade, which we do shield. Here comes the Psyshock, and we are going to bring down Knocked Out to win Game 3 against Darth Kylo Ryan. Trainers, my next opponent has one of the spiciest teams I've ever seen in my entire life. I love Matswar, and I think Corsola is the ultimate spice, but you cannot miss this team right here. PS239 Riverboy is from the Tampa area. We are Ultra friends, and we need to practice more because the spice is real. He has Farfetch, Execute, Heracross, Lombre, Aggron, and Sharpedo. This is one of the weirdest teams I've ever seen, and he was doing very, very well. We get really lucky in these matches, trainers. Let's check it out. I do decide to lead my Alolan Sandslash with Poliwrath and Shiftry in the back. Now, in this lead situation, Alolan Sandslash encounters Sharpedo, so I am going to lose this lead hard. That waterfall hits so freaking hard. Sharpedo is going to bail out in favor of Farfetch. So Farfetch is a normal flying type with access to Fury Cutter, Aerial Ace, and Leaf Blade. I'm going to Shield Bait there with the Ice Punch, and I know that Fury Cutter is fast, but I also know that Poliwrath is faster. Poliwrath is such an amazing Pokemon in this cup. I do go for the Dynamic Punch here and take a huge chunk out of this Farfetch, also one of my favorite Pokemon, and I do go here for the Ice Punch to try to bring it down. We burn that second shield, which is great for us. He is going to get the Leaf Blade, though, and Poliwrath is in dangerous health range. I do decide to bring in my Alolan Sandslash, trying to farm down this Farfetch, and in comes Aggron. So Aggron is another tough Pokemon to deal with. I do go for straight Ice Punches here because I know Gyro Ball is not going to do very well against it. we're going to go for a second Ice Punch against Aggron. Aggron has a very interesting moveset, trainers, as you'll see here in a few minutes. Not this game, but I think the next game. Aggron is really tricky. I do decide to wait down that switch timer and bring in a very weak Poliwrath, but I'm still able to get to a Dynamic Punch. PS239 is out of shield, so that will take down Aggron. In comes Farfetch, and we farm down with one Snarl. In comes Sharpedo, and I go here for the Leaf Blade. Leaf Blade is going to do great against Sharpedo, bringing it down in one shot. Going to the next game, I lead Noctowl. I do have my Poliwrath and Shiftry in the back. Again, trainers, these games are really crazy. Noctowl is going to go up against a Phantom Pokemon here, but look at the name up there on the right. It is Lombre. Lombre does appear. In comes the Aggron, and I switch into my Poliwrath. We know that one Dynamic Punch will put an end to this Aggron. Right here, trainers, I was holding my breath, and I remembered Aggron has Thunder. So I was actually able to shield that. That would have definitely one-shotted Poliwrath, but somewhere in the back of my mind, I remembered Thunder, Stone Edge were two moves that this thing could have. In comes Execute. So Execute is definitely running confusion, and that is going to wreck our Poliwrath hard. But again, Poliwrath has such great coverage with its moves. Ice Punch is going to be super effective against Grass type Execute, and we actually get to 2 Ice Punches, which is excellent for us. We're going to force that second shield, but this Execute has a ton of energy. I don't think it has anything that can hurt flying types, but I decided to bring in Shiftry, and sure enough, here comes an Ancient Power. This moveset is so spicy on this team, trainers. I do fire off the Foul Play here against the Lombre. I don't know if this is enough, so I look for the swap into my Noctowl. Hoping that it wasn't Ice Beam, I am able to farm down with the Wing attacks, and then the Sky attack will take down Grass Psychic type Execute. Going into game 3, I lead Alolan Sandslash with my Poliwrath and Shiftry in the back. My Alolan Sandslash this time is going to encounter the Aggron, which is again a losing matchup like we saw in round 1. Aggron Smackdown does so much work. I'm going to farm up a ton of extra energy though, and then start going for some Ice Punches. So again, trying to force my opponent to maybe shield for the Bulldoze, and we actually get the bait, which is really nice for us. I'm going to hang on to my Alolan Sandslash here and decide to bring in Poliwrath. In comes Farfetch though, and this time we're going to go for the Ice Punch shield bait. I actually don't know, trainers, if Ice Punch is the right way to go. Maybe it is. Maybe Dynamic Punch is only marginally better. We actually go for a double Ice Punch here, and even though Fury Cutter is fast, like we said before, trainers, Poliwrath with Mudshot is just way faster. It's just unreal. He does land the first Leaf Blade, and then we actually, I guess, reach a CMP tie there. I'm going to let Poliwrath fall, because I do have a Alolan Sandslash and my opponent is out of shields. So I do go for the Ice Punch here against the Farfetch. This will be enough to take it down. I love that little Pokemon, but it is so glassy. In comes Heracross, and the counters are going to wreck us, trainers. We have no hope of winning this one. I brought 2 Pokemon weak to counter, and Heracross railed our team. We do fire up the Foul Play, barely bringing down the Aggron, and I'm trying to go for a double Leaf Blade here. I tried to overfarm a little bit, but still, Heracross is so stout, we're not able to do it. GG's PS239 Riverboy. Battlers, just one of the amazing things that happened at the Mega Cup was that the Rose meta was announced live on stream by Elisa Noble. It was such a cool experience. Rose videos are coming soon. My final opponent is SSB M4TNGC. This is also a Florida native. He's bringing Alolan Ninetales, Whiscash, Altaria, Probopass, Shiftry, and Escavalier. So this is a very tough team, a very hard team for me to deal with. As you're going to see, I actually get really outplayed. I do decide to bring Alolan Sandslash with Poliwrath behind it, and then I also have my Swampert in the back. Going to this lead matchup, I do lead my Alolan Sandslash into this Ninetales, and this is so next level, trainers. He is actually going to call my Gyro Ball. He swaps right into Escavalier, and he does tell me afterwards, you look like a guy that has Gyro Ball. I don't know if that was a compliment or an insult, or maybe I just look sneaky. Whatever the case might be, he does call it correctly, and that was a beautiful call by my opponent. Really a next level player, and I really enjoyed these battles, even though I got completely destroyed. So Shiftry's going to come in here and hit us with the Leaf Blade. Swampert's going to go down, and this Shiftry is a very dangerous opponent for me. I do decide to bring in my Poliwrath here, and my opponent switches into Alolan Ninetales. So I did force my opponent to swap into Ninetales here, which is good. He does take that Dynamic Punch, and here I'm going to try to keep my Alolan Sandslash alive because I realized that it does do well against both of his Pokemon. I'm going to overfarm here and threaten the Gyro Ball and instead go for the Ice Punch. He does decide to shield, which is great for me. I'm going to Ice Punch again, hoping to bring down Ninetales, and we get it. In comes Shiftry here, and my Alolan Sandslash is able to get to one more Ice Punch. So at this point, my opponent's trying to farm me down. He does fire off the Leaf Blade here. Now it is a race, trainers. I need Dynamic Punch to win this matchup, but he does get to the Leaf Blade first. So again, Shiftry and Poliwrath, two of the fastest Pokemon in the cup going at it. I don't have enough time to go for a Dynamic Punch, so I go for the Ice Punch. Barely hanging on. Shiftry is going to reach that Leaf Blade and take us down. Very GG's SSB. Going into game 2, I lead Poliwrath. I do have my Alolan Sandslash and Swampert in the back. In this lead situation, Poliwrath is going to encounter Alolan Ninetales, so immediately I lose that. I do swap here into Swampert, not my hard counter, so I'm going to try to save my Alolan Sandslash for later. I do go for a bait here with the Hydro Cannon. If that was a Sludge Wave, he actually mentioned this as well. If that was Sludge Wave, I would have won, or at least I would have been in a very favorable situation. He's a great trainer, so I doubt I would have won outright, but it would put me in a better spot. I do decide to shield there, and still, this Shiftry is so fast, trainers. I'm actually not able to get to another Hydro Cannon. I do debate bringing in my Poliwrath here to farm up the rest of the Shiftry, but I bring in my Alolan Sandslash instead. So this paves the way for my opponent to bring in his hard counter, which is Escavalier. So I definitely should have brought in Poliwrath, hoping that Alolan Ninetales would come back out so that in turn I could swap into my Alolan Sandslash. But you live and you learn, trainers. I'm unable to get to another Dynamic Punch. In comes the Alolan Ninetales, and it's going to fire off a charge move. Psyshock would not have done too much damage, but my Alolan Sandslash is barely hanging on. I go for the Ice Punch here, and it does not get shielded. So again, a minor opportunity to win there, but Escavalier in the back with counter is just too hard to beat. He is going to shield that and then charm me down. Going into game 3, I decide to lead with Noctowl. I do have Poliwrath and Shiftry in the back. Now, in this opening matchup, my Noctowl is going to run into Shiftry. My opponent is going to decide to fire off 3 Snarls there, 4 Snarls. Actually going to go for a charge move. But this is how I like to play the Shiftry versus Noctowl matchup as well. Shiftry is very frail, but it can put out a ton of damage, even against something like the Noctowl, which is a normal type, and it's going to resist most of the moves that Shiftry can throw. He's going to go for the Leaf Blade there, earning the Shield Bait. Very, very clutch play, very next level play by SSB. Probably one of the best players I have faced in a while. I'm going to shield this Leaf Blade from him. So again, baiting the shields out of me, trying to go for the farm down. I'm actually going to swap here into my Shiftry to absorb the foul play. And then here comes Escavalier. I'm going to fire off the Leaf Blade here. I don't think this does very well against it. No, not very effective. Escavalier is such a weird Pokemon to deal with. It reminds me a lot of Pseudo Widow in that it has counter and then some coverage in the back with its other moves. Trainers, right here, I have an opportunity to win this match, but because I get overzealous, I actually throw it, and this is just not great play by me. Bad prediction on my part. In comes the Shiftry, and I swap into Noctowl, and I'm trying to get a little bit of energy for whatever's in the back, but it's Probopass, trainers, and as soon as that Poliwrath comes out, you know the Thunderbolt is flying. So because of that right there, because of swapping into Noctowl to get more energy, I throw that match. So I could have gotten a game 3 against this really tough opponent, but you live and you learn. That is my recap for the Orlando Mega Cup tournament, trainers. I hope you enjoyed it. Definitely please leave me a like, comment, and subscribe. I know that I have been slacking on the videos. This Mega Cup took so much time and effort and planning. Again, shout out to everyone who was involved. The founding group, Lyndon Ryu, Kachino Mum, Matt Swar, Jangles, everybody who was involved did such a great job. And now that this is done, I'm ready to move into Rose content. I'm ready to start on the videos again. And trainers, again, if you like for me to go to these Mega Cups more often and do these recaps and make more videos, give me a watch, because all of the money that I make, however much it is going to go right back into travel to the Megas. I think this is a real movement for our community, and I can't wait to become a part of it.